Good evening. I would like to call the business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education to order. It is Tuesday, May 16th, 2017, and the Portland Board of Public Education is meeting at City Hall and Council Chambers. May I please ask the superintendent to call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Seeliger?
Here.
Ms. Vendel?
Here.
Ms. Hatzenbuehler?
Here.
Ms. Davis? Ms. Thompson?
Here.
Ms. Morioni? Mr. Eater?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez? Ms. Donato? Ms. Farah? Ms. Hassan? Mr. Siegel?
Here.
And Chair Terraro.
Here. And we have heard from other members that they are still looking for parking, so we expect people to be wandering in shortly. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the only thing I have to report this evening is that last night the City Council did unanimously adopt our budget. That will be going to referendum, and the vote will be on June 13th. So remember to mark your calendars. Report of the students. We have PABs tonight.
It's been a while. Okay. So lots happened since the fall. I think that's the last time I gave my report. We've had about 500 visitors since February visiting programs at PAS. So they come for a day visit and then they get to try out programs. So it's been great getting kids from all across the state to check out programs and see if they're interested in coming next year. So yeah. This Friday we have a graduating class of 215 students either graduating or receiving certificates. And that will be taking place in the morning for a AM session at, I believe, 8:30.
Yep.
And then 11:30 for the PM session. I'll be at the PM, so come to that one. Yeah, a lot of stuff's been going on. We had a career fair. We had a career fair where over 20 vendors visited PAS, and we invited Casco Bay students to come, and we got to talk with people in the industry and get a lot of kids summer jobs for either going into college or whatever. We also had many field trips that we sent our classes on. We sent our marine engine repair to Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. We've gone to the Maine MEMA, Maine Energy Marketers Association. We've sent students to Bowdoin College, Pineland Farm, EMCC, SMCC, CMCC, the ABC Maine Conference in Augusta, New England Carpenter Union Trainers Center in Massachusetts, and a Maine Boat Builder Show, as well as Berkeley School of Music. So we've been to a lot of places. I also personally got to go on a trip to Indiana with a fellow student, and we got to visit a 3D printer convention, all open source, really incredible. All thanks to PAS and the Portland Public School and school board members. I'd like to just do some shout outs for some people. We had 3 people place in the DECA, which is the competition that our fashion marketing people go to. Zara Abukar from Portland, Taylor Rickett Wyndham, and Adara Bankhead from Casco Bay all competed and did really well in the program. We also had several winners at the Skills USA this year, including one of my own classmates, Hua Lynn, who won gold in the CNC technician, as well as us winning several other gold medals. For the first time ever, 4 kids all received 19 tests from ICAR, which is for the automotive technology program, I believe. And it's the first time anyone's has ever completed all 19 in PAS, let alone 4 kids doing it. Welding just completed a community service project for the Wentworth School in Scarborough, building a really cool fence for them. And we are heading into our third-party assessments, where every program from my program, manufacturing technology, to welding, to automotive tech and collision, to nursing, all will take their exams to get certified in their specific trade. And good luck to everyone. And I think that's about it. This is pretty much my last report, I think, unless we throw in a next meeting, because I don't think that'll happen. So, just overall, PAS has been a great experience. Being on the school board, being able to represent PAS, being able to work with Mr. Stilfen, who is our new director this year, who has done an incredible job taking over. Has been a privilege and an honor, and I'm very thankful for this opportunity. And I really appreciate the help that I've received from him and all of you, and the opportunity to help represent my peers at PAS. So that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel, and we have enjoyed having you with us the last 2 years and have enjoyed your reports. Moving into report of the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd also like to thank Mr. Siegel for his report. Obviously, there is a great deal happening at PATHS, and you've always done an amazing job of representing the work that happens there. Your enthusiasm, your commitment to the school has always been right out in front, and I think everybody is grateful for that. Today, we'd like to start by recognizing Lauren Cormier, an 8th grade social studies teacher at Lyman Moore Middle School. She has been awarded the Smart Mayor VFW National Citizenship Education Teacher Award. Congratulations, Lauren. You guys know me, I'm going to say more than that. She was selected for that Teacher of the Year honor by both the VFW Deering Memorial Post and District 10. Lauren Cormier, who has taught at Lyman Moore for 34 years, was selected for her commitment to teaching students about U.S. history and the importance of civic responsibility and service. She is donating her winnings from the award to help her students attend the school's annual trip to the Freedom Trail in Boston, which she organizes each year to help make history come alive to students. Lyman Moore Assistant Principal Jake Geisman says that in these politically polarized times, Ms. Cormier guides students toward the common ideals that all Americans can share: pride in tradition, service to community, and commitment to make a strong future. When students take her class, they learn values that everybody would recognize as noble and high and at the core of our American democratic tradition. Thank you, Lauren Cormier, for your dedication and service and for the wonderful civic lessons you provide to our students. I'm happy to report that the project to construct a replacement for Hall Elementary School is underway. Site preparation, including the removal of some trees, began this past April. We'd like to invite the entire community to a formal groundbreaking on Thursday, June 22nd, from 10 a.m. to noon at 23 Orono Road, the location of the current school. As you know, this is a state-funded project, and the new hall, expected to open in September of 2018, will feature a middle school-sized gymnasium that can be used by the community, a cafeteria that's large enough to accommodate 2 30-minute lunch periods, which the school really appreciates, and building security upgrades. The school will also be LEED, which is Green Energy Certified. On May 4th, I attended the King Middle School's wonderful celebration of learning. It was the 23rd time the school has held a celebration of learning, but it was my first time, and I was incredibly impressed with the high caliber of student learning going on at the school. I was among more than 100 visitors from all around the country interested in learning from King's experiences as an EL mentor school. King's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students delve into meaningful and authentic interdisciplinary units called expeditions and produce high-quality products to demonstrate their understanding. Some highlights from this year included students working with the Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the Muskie School of Public Health to develop middle school curriculum focused on tick and mosquito-borne illnesses. They also designed shoes based on the tenets of biomimicry. I didn't even know what biomimicry was before that. And collaborating with local neighborhood associations to develop comprehensive plans for the city. Students made presentations on these and other topics to all of the people in attendance at the celebration of learning. Congratulations to King students and staff on all that they've accomplished. The Portland Education Foundation just announced the results of its new PF Summer Innovation Grant for Teachers program. Those grants are designed to support teachers who want to work over the summer months to explore and advance new approaches to student learning. These grants support teacher time and work that is not otherwise funded in the PPS annual budget. PEF received 14 grant applications totaling more than $67,000. The PEF budget for the pilot program was approximately $15,000, and after thorough discussion and consideration, the review committee agreed to grant proposals to Longfellow School for work on a math action plan for the 2017-18 school year, Casco Bay High School for work to develop a new vision for CBHS's junior journey, and to the Portland Adult Education Program to create a unit titled Immigrants Down East for use in their ESOL classes. I'm sure these grants will create wonderful learning opportunities for our teachers and students, and I want to extend my thanks to PEF for all that they do to support education at the Portland Public Schools. Excuse me. I want to remind everyone that we have 2 celebrations this week that anticipate the graduation season ahead. Tomorrow evening, our Make It Happen graduates will celebrate that they made it happen. The ceremony will begin at 6:30 at USM's Hannaford Hall. On Friday, as you heard earlier, our Portland Arts and Technology High School students will celebrate all of the students who have completed their programs, and particularly those seniors, such as our very own Kevin Siegel, who have completed programs and are graduating from high school. The PATH celebration will be twice, at 8:30 for the morning group and 11:30 for the afternoon group. I'm very much looking forward to both of these events and hope that many of you will be able to join us. Also on Friday, the multilingual students of Deering's Exploring Interpretation as a Career class invite Portland Public Schools staff and leadership to a presentation and discussion about what our schools can do to promote cross-cultural communication and celebrate multilingualism. Board members have copies of the invitation flyers at your places. This is one of the many outstanding capstone projects happening in our schools over the last months of the year. Also on Friday, PHS students will be presenting their capstones and receiving their STEM endorsements. In the past couple of weeks, I've had the pleasure of attending capstone presentations by Portland High School students in the Principles of Engineering class and in the AP Statistics class. Next week, I'll be attending Moore Middle School 7th grade Social Studies end-of-year project presentations, and the list goes on and on. I'm proud of the work that happens every day in the Portland Public Schools, but this time of year really gives us all an opportunity to see the depth of the learning that happens in our schools. I also want to extend my thanks to the board for their support working through this difficult budget that we went through, and I was, of course, extremely happy yesterday that the council approved it, and I'm also grateful to the council for their support through that process. So we have June 13th to look forward to, and hopefully that will be our last step in this arduous budget process. Thank you, Chair Hatzenbuehler, for your help yesterday and through the process. So that's it for my remarks. I want to turn it over to Principal Sheila Jepson from Portland High School, who's going to present her, her school improvement plan, school success plan, sorry.
Thank you for having me this evening. I'm happy to tell you about the work that we've been doing at Portland High.
Microphone right down here, the little button right at the base of the little, there's like a little...
All right, thank you. I'll start over. So thank you for having me here tonight. I'm happy to tell you about the work that we've been doing at Portland High this year, and if you follow the slides, I will speak from there. So the work that we're going to that I will speak with you tonight is going to fall in the areas of teacher leadership, collaborative teams, and the development of our mission and vision. Now, these have been our priority areas this year, and then layered beneath this work has been student-centered learning, our communication, of course, the transition to proficiency, and improved instructional strategies for students. So our mission supports our priorities, and student achievement is at the center of all that we do. So you can see in this graphic that really student achievement is at the center, and everything else that we're doing is supporting it. I'd like to tell you about our mission and vision process that we went through this year, because I think it's really been a value and important, and it really has been what grounds the work that we're doing. So our work started really in August, and much thanks to Ms. Mignault, who last year wrote a proposal to get support to do this work in mission vision, and the school was accepted, and we were fortunate to work with a group called Image Associates to do this mission vision work, and we certainly couldn't have done it without them. So as you look at this timeline, really August, September, and October, we were just sort of getting ourselves grounded, figuring out what this work was going to be and planning for the work. And part of that included who and how many was going to be involved in developing our mission. So we brought together 16 staff members. It was open to all staff who were interested in participating, and we had 16 staff members be part of the process. The group met in November, and we met on a early release day, so we had about 3.5 hours that we worked with Image, and we started the process. In December, we got some feedback from our work, and we kind of put our work together, again, with the help of Image. Full faculty got information. In January, the group met again to refine some of our work, and then we did a faculty survey, which was really about, okay, we have our mission, but what are our values? And this original group of 16 had brainstormed a list of values, which we then had a faculty survey on, and I'll share those values with you momentarily. Then in February and March, we shared the results with faculty. We did some revision, went back and forth with the Image associates who were helping me as I worked with staff. We have an initial draft of a mission statement, which I'll show you, and we did a survey to parents in April. We got those results back. We're fine-tuning those right now and in hopes of having a final document for the school in June. So here is our mission. Portland High School cultivates the academic, social, emotional, and civic skills of every student by fostering a mindset of lifelong learning and inspiring students to become dynamic participants in our local and global community. This is after probably 4 or 5 iterations and wordsmithing. Our values. We believe in equity, diversity, and inclusion. And how we define that is that we offer programs and opportunities that support each student's individual needs and that fully prepare all learners to participate and thrive in a diverse and ever-changing world. We foster love of learning. We aim to cultivate an excitement for and a mindset of lifelong learning. We embrace rigor, academic rigor, and relevance. We strive to provide students with a curriculum that will prepare them for college and career and empower them to pursue a productive post-secondary path. We honor, respect. We value our students and respect the expertise and knowledge teachers bring to their work, and we build relationships. We believe in fostering collaborative relationships among students, teachers, and families. So I want to just settle with the values for a bit because I think this is really important, that really defines who we are and what we believe in. And these values are really going to be important as we move forward and really lay the foundation for us. So moving on to the next priority is teacher leadership. So a focus of mine after I began at Portland High this summer, after meeting with staff, was to really broaden teacher leadership and teacher voice on school issues. So we expanded our leadership team from a team of 5 members to a team currently of 13 members. We had a process of looking at our current leadership and kind of saying who's missing from around the table. And in that way, we were able to identify voices that were missing from the table. And my sense of coming in and hearing from people about who was missing from the table. Our leadership team meets twice a month, and we've been establishing our decision-making process and procedures, and our work has really been collaborative. Each of the members of the team bring a dynamic to the work and a perspective that has us function as a team. We're continuing to work on that, and we'll continue to develop ourselves as we go into next year. Another aspect of our teacher leadership has been that they have been key in the work as we transition to proficiency. There is no way this work could have happened without them. And so focusing on teacher leadership has been a really important aspect of our transition to proficiency. Our communication has been improved with expanded leadership, and I would like to think that we're engaging our families better in terms of having them be there for conferences and having them be involved in their students' learning progress. Another priority area has been developing collaborative teams. We have, the building had a very solid 9th grade team that has been working for the past 4 years. And last year they developed a 10th grade team, and we also have a joined 11th, 12th grade team. So the 9th grade group really works weekly, meeting and discussing students and identifying early warning indicators. What are those things that are impacting students' learning? How can we intervene? The freshman team has done all of the work around establishing our habits of work and learning for Portland High School, and they have common planning time in which they work together. Our sophomore team also has a modified early warning indicators process. They've met monthly, and they've done some identified students who need some intervening. And our sophomore team has done the majority of work under the guiding principles, which is a requirement of our new graduation policy. Our juniors and senior team has developed the capstone process, and I know some of you on the curriculum committee heard about our capstone, which is a requirement for next year's class to graduate. I'm very proud of the work that they've done, and they have spent all year really fine-tuning that process, and I think it's a really good one. We also have our MET team, which is our multilingual team that works and meets weekly, and they identify students that they need to intervene with. They talk about their instructional program and how they can get better at what they do. We have a guidance team that meets on a weekly basis that's also looking at what are some things in the guidance program that can be adjusted, and our special ed team meets on a weekly basis as well. So collaborative teams are essential to getting the work done in our building, and I think it's really made communication clear and consistent among and between members of the Portland High staff. I want to share with you also some celebrations. A lot of things have happened this year that are just amazing. We've had a couple of shared space cafes with our colleagues from Portland Empowered, and those discussions and conversations have been very enlightening and very important in our building. As part of the work that the school has done in our Pathways work, we have a number of extended learning opportunities that students have participated in. Over 30 business professionals in the community have participated in interviews with the entire freshman class. 189 sophomores visited 36 local businesses and community organizations, places like Mercy Hospital, the Portland Fire Department, the Portland Jetport, City Manager's Office, Casco Bay Engineering, Maine Today Media, Maine Public Radio. You get the point. They were in many places, and I was there for the assembly that the sophomores were getting their placement, and they would look at their papers and they were really very excited about where they got placed. So that was exciting to see. Our junior internships included placements with Senator Susan Collins' office, Casco Bay Artisans, Youth and Family Services, Portland Museum of Art. Our students are getting out into the city and they're experiencing what it's like in the real world. In the fall, in response to some local and national political issues, a small group of staff members met over the course of 6 weeks having courageous conversations, and how circle dialogue can be embedded into our school culture dealing with sensitive issues. So this is really looking at how restorative justice, restorative practices can be embedded for staff. And we worked with the Restorative Justice Institute of Maine, and I'm excited to be partnering with them as we continue to try and embed some structures in our building about how we can have courageous conversations. For the first time in 3 years, we have a very strong international club that meets weekly and put on an amazing international show of talent in mid-April. And our own Christina Donato was one of the MCs for that event, so thank you for that, Christina. And currently, our seniors are in the process of presenting their capstone projects in statistics and AP biology, physics, and psychology. And I hope some of you can join us on Friday to see those presentations. So next steps for us include to really continue to support the transition to proficiency with professional development and training opportunities for staff, which might look like release time, summer work, or in-school professional development. We're going to need that ongoing support. I really want to look to communicating our vision and our mission and values with the school community once we have that solidified. We'll continue to support teacher leadership and building leadership opportunities. And as we look into next year is to really develop student leadership opportunities, possibilities, and look at our current structures and how they can be changed to reflect our current student body. So we've made good progress. I am very proud and could not have done so without the tremendous effort of our staff. I am thankful to them for the energy that they've shown all year. And I'm happy to answer questions.
Ms. Morioni.
Thank you very much for all your hard work. I know you have worked tirelessly there, your first year as principal. I just have a couple questions based on previous work that Portland High underwent with regards to the Nellie Mae grant work and the focusing on pathways work. Where are we with that? And is this what you're presenting around your mission and values, continuation of that? Or can you just explain a little more?
Yes, so I think as we looked at the year and what needed to happen, the organization of the 9th grade and 10th grade feels pretty solid. And 11th and 12th grades' focus and their mission, if you will, was to really develop and identify what the capstone would be. So we did take a little turn from the focus on pathways, and as we get back into looking at that next year, I think we'll bring some of that focus back. Although I also feel like they were at somewhat of a turning point in the process at the end of last year, and I think we need to get back to what will that mean? What will pathways or academies look like for us? But I feel like we have a pretty solid base of who the academies and who the teams are. We just need to flesh out a little more what it looks like at 11th and 12th grade.
Right, okay. And I know we no longer have the Nellie Mae Funding.
We do for one more year.
It was still one more year.
Yeah.
And can you explain a little bit what that funding might be covering?
Sure.
This coming year?
So as we've been working on a sustainability process this whole year, so thinking about as we transition out of the grant, and for Portland High, really the bulk of what the grant is supporting is teacher leadership. And so as I spoke about the teacher leadership teams and the collaborative teams, the Nellie Mae grant is supporting those teacher leaders in doing that work. And they're supporting our JMG employee who helps with our extended learning opportunities, internships, and the freshman interviews. He assists with it. The freshman interviews are really embedded in the program currently. And then we also have the emergency medical responding program through SMCC, and the grant supports a staff member who's also connected with the program.
And one final question. Have we been able to track how have we done with this money? In other words, have we done surveys? Have we done, I know you're just getting started in this year in the school, but I know you had worked a lot with it previously. But what have we done to sort of prove that this has been successful use of the government's money?
I mean, I guess I don't feel like I'm the best to speak to that because of my limited involvement. I know that we've just gone through, about 2 weeks ago, we just had a group come through to do an annual visit, and they prepare a report for us annually, okay. and embedded in that report is information on how we've done. I will say that when I met with the person a couple of weeks ago, he did about a 40-minute interview with me. He said that Portland schools have the highest, our students have the highest level of, I can do this. I know I can be successful of any school that they have reviewed within the Nellie Mae system.
Great.
So he wondered why that was, and he was in all of the schools, Portland, Deering, and Casco Bay, that our students have that energy to be successful. That was wonderful to hear. I couldn't take credit because I've just come on to it, but.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that. We just received that report yesterday from EDC, which is the formal evaluation of the Nellie Mae, and I haven't had a chance to read it. I've perused it, and I know that it's overall extremely positive about the work that's happened in Portland over these past 5 years.
And once you peruse it, can we get either a report, Javier, or copies of it.
And we have to renew that memorandum of understanding with Nellie Mae, so we expect that we will have a presentation on that in June. That'll be on the agenda.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen.
Ms. Thompson?
I just had a follow-up to that. I didn't, the John Hopkins model, are you still following that at Portland High School?
I would say we're making modifications, that our affiliation is not something that we're continuing. So we've made some modifications to the program, and we're kind of using what has worked for Portland High and what is getting the most success. So we're kind of using some aspects of it and others we're not.
Okay.
Our affiliation with them is not like it would be with Expeditionary Learning or another model school like ISSN with Deering.
So, for example, the Freshman Academy is a component of the talent development model, and so that lives on, but it's not as fully formed, I guess, as the Expeditionary Learning model might be, where there are specific things that you do. Right. So Portland has kept some pieces and is sort of evolving other pieces in a different direction.
Okay. So I guess, I think it comes back around to, and I'll be interested to Marnie's point of the report, because the board has struggled, I think, since we started with Nellie Mae, of the Asia Society and John Hopkins, and the board was very, very involved, as was the community, of picking John Hopkins for Portland High, and I understand working around it and working I'm just concerned that we've had a lot of conversations over the years around picking models, and it sounds like we're moving away from that, and so I'm just wondering, are we bringing the community along with us too, and the parents, and how are we doing all that?
So I would just like to clarify that unlike in IB or EL, the ISSN, Johns Hopkins is not a model that way. So Portland High School entered into agreement, the Portland Public Schools did, to collaborate with Johns Hopkins, but the intent was never that that would be a model like our other models, that we would continue to pay money to them and they would continue to work with us. This was always intended to be some work during the grant time, and that's just not something that Johns Hopkins provides. They don't do that.
Thank you. I guess that's just new information, because when we went to Portland High, I don't know how many years ago it was, when we first started with Nellie Mae, and I remember being part of the charrettes and talking about the different programs that were available, and I forget the other couple ones that there was, but anyway, I was under the impression, I guess, as a board member, that was a model that we were learning at Portland High School, and that was very definitive things that they were doing at each level. So it sounds very different now. That's all. I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't sound like when we first started out of what, I guess, not that we were sold on something, but that each school had their own defined model.
And I suppose it's all in the definition of the word model. There's no doubt that by selecting Johns Hopkins, lots of thinking went along with that. That was a deliberate process and a reason. But it was never, ever intended, and I'm, certainly sorry if there are some misunderstandings about that would continue in the way that the other models that we think about continue. That's not a part of what they offer. It was never intended to be, and we knew that the time would come over the course of the grant when that particular connection would end. It doesn't mean that the work that was done would end, but that the opportunities provided by Johns Hopkins would end.
Any other questions?
Just given your values in Portland High School, especially highlighting the diversity, inclusion, and equity, I'd like to know how your school promotes positions of power and student leadership positions, such as maybe an added leadership, things like that. to students of color?
Yeah, and that's one of the areas that I said is our next steps, really to begin working on. I just have started at our faculty meeting last week, some conversation about student council, student government, class officers. I think you mentioned anatomy of leadership, something on my mind as well. And how do we have a broader base of student representation? That's one of our next steps, for sure.
Any other questions? I would just say that I really appreciate the presentation. To me, it seems very clear that you've laid some foundations for the school in the short time that you've been there. And, although it's kind of morphing perhaps away from the Johns Hopkins model specifically, I think every school has to kind of find its identity, and the best thing that we can do is to adapt and take what works and move on with that. But it's certainly evident that we're still under the umbrella of student-centered learning, which I think is the goal.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving on to report of the secretary. Consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes of May 2nd, 2017. Is there a motion? Ms. Thompson, seconded by Ms. Vendel. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none. Is there any public comment on the meeting minutes? Seeing none. Any board discussion? Seeing none, I would call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the meeting minutes of May 2nd, 2017, please indicate. It's unanimous with the students voting in the affirmative. Moving on to report of the committees. Curriculum, Ms. Marioni.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to say we had a very productive last meeting on May 4th. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we covered in that meeting. First started out talking about policy JICI again, which is the co-curricular activities code of conduct for middle and high school students. There's still work being done on that, but I want to say thank you so much to staff, particularly our principals of the high schools and our athletic directors. They've been working very hard on the language around that, as well as to Ms. Prey, who the point of this is to make sure it's in alignment with our proficiency-based and graduate policy. So that's still being worked on. That's going to be brought back to us at our next meeting. We also were provided with an update on graduation requirement policy IKF, but particularly the policies that are cross-referenced within that policy. I'm just going to name these because the good news is there's not a lot of changes at all that needed to take place in these policies, so they're not going to be coming before the board, but I'd like to just name them to be noted that these are have been reviewed by staff and the curriculum committee. This is IHBGA, which is homeschooling participation in school programs, IKFA, which is early graduation, IAJ, which is individualized instruction, JEA, which is compulsory school attendance, JFB, educational options, and IMBB, which is exemption from required instruction. So all of those, again, like I said, that was good to get a final update on that. So thank you to staff and to Ms. Prey. We also received a proficiency-based work update. It's moving well. I don't have it in front of me to talk about, but our middle school families have learned more about what their students can expect entering in the fall around proficiency-based grading. And so that's good news. It seems to have, they've done, is it 3 or 4 evenings? 4 evenings based at Lincoln, King, and Lyman Moore, available for, is that correct? Available for families to learn about the proficiency-based work and the grading system that their students will be be facing. The other thing is they're working on a promotional I don't know if I want to call it promotional materials to advocate or explain to our families around the proficiency-based work, as well as having these translated with the multilingual office for our families. So there'll be lots of information online, as well as handouts continually being provided to our families. Also want to let, could we let the board know about the reviewed notes we started adding to the policies? Oh, right. So under Ms. Prey's direction, as we had these policies reviewed, now under each of these curriculum policies, it not only, it'll have reviewed and the actual date of the action. So we'd like that to, if possible, start to be a, what? It's supposed to be, Ms. Thompson tells me. But the good news is that now the curriculum committees, it was nice to see that is being added. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, for pointing that out. We also did an academic achievement data review, which was also, actually, that data review, refresh my memory, Sharon, our data review, we... with the comprehensive plan. Yeah, we were talking about with the comprehensive plan and what that, we were given a draft of something to take a look at and to get the curriculum committee members' feedback around what type of information the curriculum committee might like to receive, explaining how we're doing with academic achievement that would also be reported to the board after each meeting. So we will have our next meeting with the curriculum committee. We're going to have another one this month for several reasons. One is because we didn't have one in April, but also because Ms. Prey will be leaving us soon, and we want to get as much done as we can before the fall, and we ideally like to get policy JICI completed so that going into the fall, students will know the co-curricular activities code of conduct and can be in the student handbooks for the middle school and high schools. So that next meeting will be on May 23rd at 6 p.m. at Central Office. And that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Operations, Ms. Davis is not here. I don't know if anybody had a report for that. So we'll hold on that until our next meeting. Finance, Ms. Hatzenbuehler.
Thank you. We passed our budget last night. That's pretty much it. We have our next meeting, I think, is June 13th. It's in the notes here. And I think that we're going to look at, Alicia's not here, but I think the plan is to look at the quarterly reports.
Third quarter report.
Third quarter report. But then I think we're also gearing up for the really developing a multi-year budget in August, so. But yeah, good news all around.
Thank you for your work throughout that process. Policy, Legislative, and Public Affairs, Ms. Seelig.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our next Policy Committee meeting is Tuesday, May 23rd at 5:30 at Central Office. Thank you.
Are there any other committee and/or member concerns? Ms. Thompson.
I just wanted to ask, and I guess I can send you an email as well, that if we could plan a workshop in June to build in time to reflect on the budget process and things that went well and things that we want to improve upon for next time. I know that the company that we hired back years ago had encouraged us to continue doing that all the time, and we haven't done that for a while. And I know that at several of the finance meetings, we talked about having that, so if we could build that in somehow. Thank you.
Thank you for the suggestion, and we'll put that on the list. Oh, Ms. Seeliger.
I guess I just have a question about that. Do we still have a retreat scheduled for May 30th, 6 to 10 p.m.?
We do not.
Okay, thanks.
Any other member concerns? Seeing none, move into consent items. Would the superintendent please read the items into consent?
Yes, Madam Chair. Paths received a 1999 Toyota Camry from Robert Page of South Portland. Longfellow Elementary received a 3D printer and associated materials to use in their art room from the Perloff Foundation of Los Altos Hills, California. And Paths also received a 2004 Ford Explorer for their automotive program from William Whipfler of Portland. And thank you to all of them for their contributions.
There is no old business, no new business, and no personnel this evening. Moving into board focus on educational issues, we have the district technology plan.
And this is going to be a presentation, a team presentation on the district technology plan. This will be up for a first read at the June 6th board meeting and then approval at the June 20th. So prior to you having have to make a decision on it, we wanted to give you an opportunity to understand in depth what is being proposed, how it's different from what has previously been submitted. And so I'm going to turn it over to Chief Academic Officer Sharon Prey to lead the session.
I dropped my glasses and okay. So good evening, everyone. Glad you all found a place to park. So thank you for giving us the opportunity here tonight to talk about our proposed technology plan. I'd like to introduce Cindy Nilsson and Mike Derry. You probably know both of them, but they both work tirelessly on this product. And I really want them recognized because I know Cindy put a whole lot of extra time on weekends and nights, and yeah, long plan, yes. So, as you know, as you probably know, this plan is due by July 1st. So we need to bring it forward to you folks so that you can approve it, and then we can send it forward to be in on time. So, the 2016 requirements for district technology plans have changed since our last submission. The Department of Education has outlined 3 major goals. One of them is for us to support our teachers and administrators in thinking about why we need technology and how we'll use it. We also want to encourage a more meaningful involvement of district leadership teams and curriculum leaders with the use of technology in the classroom in collaboration with the technology people.
This is goal 3 right here.
Oh, this is goal 3, I'm sorry. I pushed the button twice. And then to invite teachers and administrators to focus on learning through offering technology tools rather than focusing on the infrastructure and the actual hardware. Our past goals were focused more on the infrastructure and our hardware. In other words, our Department of Education wants the school districts to focus on how we're going to use technology to improve instructional strategies. So now Mike is going to talk a little bit about the results of our technology access survey, and then Cindy's going to talk about the implications and the action plans that came from our survey results. So Mike, it's all yours.
Thank you, Sharon. This is a survey that is conducted by Bright Bytes, which is a company that's contracted through the state MLTI office for the MLTI schools. So this survey was based on middle schools and the high schools, obviously, because we don't have MLTI in the elementary schools. This survey is focused on issues related to the classroom, the use of technology in the classroom, the access, the availability of technology resources, including network operation, and skills, referring to the familiarity of staff and students using technology and integrating actually with curriculum development. The survey, it was 5 tiers of ratings, and each district in the state was rated. These are exemplary, advanced, proficient, emerging, and beginning. We scored overall proficient, in the use of technology. Though we did have some areas that were advanced, the overall rating of Portland schools compared to other districts in the state was proficient. Any questions about that? These are some recommended improvement areas as far as with emerging. There was some elements, and the survey result is in the plan that is going to be specified. Integrate technology and more data activities, such as there was questions about teachers using it at staff meetings instead of, integrating technology that way, using PowerPoint presentations such as this, elements of that to integrate it more in the day-to-day function of teacher teacher activities as well as the learning activities. So expanding the use of applications and programs to deliver the curriculum. Leadership. Learning through technology. One of the things that we established was an Education Technology Advisory Council, which we're in the process right now, and I'll be talking about that in the next slide. This is, I'll jump right to the next slide here in a sec. Professional learning, a formal professional development plan in technology, and this is going to be a responsibility of that Education Technology Advisory Council to be the oversight, the authoritative governing body of what we're going to be offering for professional development at each of the school levels in the district. Learning-focused access. This was a reflection. The survey was conducted late fall, and I'm sure most of you know we had a lot of wireless problems in our school at that time. So we scored pretty poor on this, and that's a reflection, I know, of the problems that we were going through at that time. And we've addressed that with, there is some new technology, new hardware that will be deployed in the high schools that'll double the wireless capacity. And we're also in the process of doubling the capacity of the total internet access for the district. So one of the big things we really liked about this was the formation of this advisory council. This would involve provide guidance and oversight, the alignment of technology goals and curriculum integration, a formal team council that was made up of educators and administrators from each of the school levels, as well as members from central office, primarily the chief academic officer, myself, and whoever Javier would also want on that committee, council as well. So in this, we're going to formalize and coordinate the planning and technology professional development. There is no formal, there is kind of an ad hoc that we started this year with Sharon and myself, and it worked out very well. But we need more of an oversight, and I've reached out to members at each of the school levels to provide surveys, to get surveys out to their teachers on what they want for professional development. So this, I think, is really going to help us with all of those emerging areas that were identified in the technology survey that was conducted. Again, this would deal with this council-related policies and guidelines as they relate to the district curriculum goal. And with that, I'll leave it to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us tonight. So the implications of this plan, this is a big lift. We're shifting our approach to the use of technology so that it's not so much about learning the devices or learning the applications. It's actually using technology and employing applications that fit with instructional learning goals. I'm sorry. I'm so used to projecting and I have a little laryngitis. Sorry about that. So one of the ideas to help us move this forward would be to showcase exemplars of student technology products. It's invigorating, it's impressive, and that process helps to inform people that aren't using technology fully to the possibilities and capacities of what students can do with our available technologies. Evaluate learning effectiveness of the applications in use. This is an ongoing process. Applications often cost money. And if they're not really effective in promoting and supporting student learning of our instructional goals, then we need to really stay on top of that and continue to evaluate the applications that we're using. As you know, and we all know here, that technology is an ever-evolving medium, and we need to stay on top of that and understand what the current available applications are and how to best use them. And all of it is devoted toward working in a safe and responsible use of technology. So we'll build off our available district acceptable use policies, and we'll inform students about those policies, but also start talking about the common sense digital citizenship approach to using technology safely and responsibly. So student learning and teacher access. This survey has given us a lot of information, but it won't be meaningful to each of our sites unless we really start looking at the survey, developing insights about the results, and then bringing that insight from each of our sites, which are very different, as you all know, bringing that to the ETAC, that Education Technology Council. And I'm starting to need a drink of water, I think. I'm sorry about that. It's the laryngitis. All right. So we will, a really important critical component of the plan is providing support for teachers and administrators in order to shift that focus and that pedagogy. This is going to be a plan that will require some accountability, so leadership must assume that role and support teachers, but also, keep checking back with them to make sure that things are going well. Expanding the utilization of multimedia technology, it's an ever-broadening field. So what we would really like to see our students start using are things that they're not currently using, things like VoiceThread. Are any of you familiar with VoiceThread? It's an application where you create a medium where you can incorporate video, you can incorporate audio, you can invite people to collaborate. So it's something that could be used to connect our students with students around the world, and they can collaborate with each other, they could debate with each other, they could add to products, collaboratively. It's a really exciting application. And then support, this is what I referenced before about the safe and responsible use of technology for all our students. We have the acceptable use policies. They are good, but there are some supports that we could give teachers and administrators so that those acceptable use policies could become more meaningful and more accessible. Okay. Professional learning. This is really huge. Teachers, administrators, building leaders, teacher leaders, everyone is really going to have to understand that we can't just shift to this type of use of technology without professional development. So the idea is to develop focus groups at schools. There are tech-savvy teachers and leaders all over our district. So if we have focus groups in school, they can share their expertise and they can help lift this. Teachers can deliver workshops and professional development sessions, and schools can select teachers to attend train-the-trainer sessions. There needs to be some attention toward developing an annual fiscal requirement or commitment to not only professional development, but also some of these applications that might help you incur some additional costs. And then one thing that we're recommending in the plan, we know that it isn't going to happen next year, but we really believe that technology integrators are essential across the district. We know that's difficult. Then the last slide really is something that is more in Mike's province. However, you know, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, the learning focus access, and again, we're continuing to update the network infrastructure. We have work at all 4 high schools going on this summer and 2 of the middle school, 2 elementary schools. And that is just improving the wireless. We had actually a formal survey conducted in all 2 high schools this year, and they provided maps of where the optimum placement for wireless. So we're going to follow that plan that they recommended in this summer. The constant challenge to continue and provide timely and efficient services, that's a work in progress. We're always trying to strive for top-tier customer service, and sometimes we don't meet that and we fall down, but we continually to try. So working with people and increasing efficiencies and some help desk changes that we'll be implementing over the summer for the 17-18 school year. The one-to-one access across all schools in grades 4 through 5, that's moving along very well. We've deployed close to 2,200 Chromebooks out into the elementary schools, spread amongst all the elementary schools, and they were received, everybody seems to really, really like them as far as delivery and their performance with them. So I'll continue to expand that as well. And improve access to devices in grades K through 3. We're ending the iPad MLTI agreement here as June 30th. So those devices that are currently used in the high school, we're going to push those down and make them more available to grades K through 3. And so we'll be having those devices as well.
And then we included this graphic. This is from the guidelines of the state of Maine requirements for this plan. You know, I'm a teacher, so I can't stand still when I do. I'm sorry about that. Yes. So I wanted to illustrate how this new technology plan really dovetails with everything that Sheila Jepson talked about. Student learning is at the heart of everything we do. It's at the heart of everything we should be doing. It's our total focus. So writing this plan was almost easy. It complements the new comprehensive plan for the district. It dovetails nicely with most school success plans, and it really is a way to use our available technology to support student learning. And I wish that Laurie Davis had been here, because many, many, many years ago, we had a financial director of finance, Don Davis, and he used to come to our technology meetings, and the one thing that he always asked us was, yes, but we're spending all this money. How is it impacting student learning? So I'm really proud of this plan. The work we've done has been amazing, and I think if we can lift this in the right way, that it will make a difference in our student learning.
So before we ask you if you have any questions, I just want to recognize a few other people who did assist us with writing this plan. Mike referred to an ad hoc committee, so I do want them recognized. John Dickerson, who is assistant principal at Hall, Drew Pisani, who is an English teacher, Mike Kennedy, who is a special ed teacher, Brian Dodge is a mathematics teacher, Liz Meal is an educational technician at the elementary level, Christopher Perkle is an English teacher, and Heidi Nichols is an elementary teacher. So I want to thank them for their contribution by sitting on the ad hoc committee to help us with this plan. So now, if you have any questions, feel free to
Show the question
ask.
slide.
Okay, there's the question slide.
There's our question slide. It was appropriate with the temper. Sorry.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you very much. I have a couple of quick questions. You talk about the Educational Technology Advisory Council, and I know that you're talking about building leadership in teachers, but I'm wondering if you thought about adding student leadership to that as well. And then also, when you start talking about reinforcing district acceptable use policies, to get the student voice in that, because if I've learned anything from having a teenager, that they know all of your workarounds, and whatever you haven't thought of, they have. And I think it's really important to have their voice, because they are very tech savvy, even though we can all think we are. The kids are, even the students are that much further ahead in many ways. And when Ms. Morioni and I went to Colorado even, we met with some gentlemen, and they were from a technology company, and they showed us some things that, as parents, we were kind of like, whoa. So I just would ask that you give consideration to adding student leadership to the council, and then also, when you get to the point of acceptable use policies, to engage the students, because if they're going to be the ones that have to fall in line with the policies, then their voice should be heard and they buy into what you're doing.
I think a good entry point for them would be the school focus groups.
That's correct. As this Education Technology Committee gets moving with the teachers at the school level, that we were hoping to have them convey and gather information from the student leadership or something, student leaders, and provide that information to the council itself. So, but we will definitely take that recommendation to see how we can involve that at more of a greater level. And you're right, there is always a challenge. What we figure out tomorrow to prevent and block, it's already, that night, somebody has figured a workaround. So it's a constant challenge. It keeps us on our toes.
Ms. Morioni?
First, I want to say thank you so much, because we needed this way back when we even put these devices in our children's hands, in my opinion, so I really appreciate all of your hard work. I have not quite a few, but several questions, if you don't mind. It goes back to, these are just for explanation. Oh, so you had said we scored at a proficient level statewide. How does that compare to the other districts in the state?
It's approximately 80% of the 80% of the districts scored as proficient. 10% were advanced, and less than 10% were exemplary.
And with those that are scoring in the advanced category, or did any score exemplary? Any districts score exemplary?
Yeah, I'm not sure which ones, but I saw that it was like roughly 8%. I didn't have insight to which districts scored exemplary.
And is there a way that we could use them as sort of the example for us to consider and to see what they've done with their devices?
I've looked at that, and I've actually reached out, and the only thing the information I got was that those were pretty much smaller school districts that didn't have the extensive diversity that we have here, not only with students but also devices as well. So I will reach out to my contact again to see if I can...
Maybe even nationally. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm always like, why reinvent the wheel, right?
No, I agree.
But just thinking, I mean, there's bound to be, I'm sure, there are districts around the country that are pretty far advanced because they have possibly more resources, but that's just an idea. And my other question was, I really liked when you talked about the cost-saving strategy of having teachers teaching teachers, because I think you're right. I wish we'd do that more often, honestly, because I think we have, teachers that come into our district with amazing skills that it would be not just for technology, but for mathematics, for example, or any of it, to have those teachers doing, and to offer some type of stipend possibly, or a way to supplement their income so that they don't feel like we're just, adding more things to their plate. But this is honestly, of all my years on the board, this is the first time I've really heard, okay, we're taking teachers to help teach teachers in our own district. It just seems to make sense. So thank you for doing that. I'm sure it's happening. We just haven't heard a lot about that.
Yeah,
so thank you.
It is currently happening now this year. We've started that, and we're going to look to expand that greatly within the schools. The people who were on this ad hoc committee really wanted to move that forward and had great enthusiasm about that.
That's great. And then, can you explain to me the technology integrator positions? What do they even do? What's that mean?
In most districts, I'm part of the Maine Education Technology District Technology Directors Association. Most districts have a school, have a tech integrator, and this would be a coach. It's a teacher coach that goes in and is like, okay, here's a great application that just came out, was just launched this year, was just made available on the Apple Store, and they would work with that teacher to try to develop their lessons plans on how to integrate that. So the technology and the application itself become a part of that lesson plan, instead of just doing, bringing up a Google Docs, or, okay, here we're going to, do an Excel spreadsheet, or we're going to watch a video or something. It's actually using the application within their lesson plan.
And I just want to be clear that the presentation said that that's something that we want to strive for, not something that we currently have.
No,
So-
I know that. I just was excited about that idea and something we should continue to strive for.
I just wanted to add that not only would the person know about the technology, but would also have background in educational pedagogy, so would understand not only how to teach an adult how to use it and make the most of it, but would also understand how to teach children how to use the application and how to create authentic, unique products. So
It makes
it's a
total
kind of a
sense. Yeah.
big person.
Yeah. Next question was around, okay, so you said that you're talking about the fall and what's happening there. Can you talk a little bit about the ending the iPads in the high schools and what is going to be replacing those for high schoolers?
I love this subject. I do.
Sorry, I'm peeling back the onion here, but.
It's a great challenge. We've looked at, and I've looked at a couple different platforms, and I've worked with the the finance subcommittees and reviewing solutions, and it does look like that I've got a vendor who's giving us a very good discount on working with the Chromebooks in the high schools in the fall. I've got with some of the network upgrade infrastructure that we did, I got a significant E-rate refund, over six figures, approximately $170,000, and we're looking to apply that towards a Chromebook solution one-to-one in the high schools.
I just, so that's not done yet, but in essence, we think that we can do what we tried to do through the budget process using the reimbursement that Mike just referred to, and also it involves us going to a 4-year instead of a 3-year lease. So it's not done. We still need to see the numbers, but Mike is hopeful that we will be able to do that.
And one of the other things that we're adding, thank you, Javier, is insurance plan for the students, so there wouldn't be a cost to the students as well.
That'd be good.
Because I know that's been a large headache for our students, not only school administration, to monitor that.
When do you think we'll know? We'll know.
I'm hoping by Friday. No.
Soon.
Soon. I really
Before
need
the
to
end of
talk
the year.
to. Yeah, before the end of the year. I would say.
The teachers can get ready and they can also know what will be needed.
Yeah, there's a meeting with Alicia and Javier need to have, and we'll discuss that.
Yeah.
Just trying to scrape together the funds for it.
Okay. Thank you. And then, okay, so one final question, sorry. You're talking about the council, the advisory council, and I definitely want to echo what Sarah said about bringing in students to that, even at the early, even if you're just things you're considering or things that we need to improve upon, they're the ones using it day in and day out and have, I'm sure, lots to tell us about it, what they would recommend or want or whatever. Yeah, that's all. Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments? I just want to echo my colleagues in thanking you. My father was a director of technology for a school district before he retired, and he would say that there's no limit to the ways in which technology can enhance education, but the caveat is that you need to know how to use them and how to integrate them to access that education. So I really appreciate the emphasis on professional development, and I know that it takes resources to develop this, which we have not significantly had in this district. So it's clear to me that you've kind of worked creatively to try to get that into the schools, particularly with the advisory council, and hopefully we can work in future years to getting the integrators. So thank you. Oh, Ms. Thompson.
Sorry, you just made me think of something. When you talked about, as a parent, I remember writing out the $25 or $30 check for the computers, and it was my understanding that when we wrote those checks out, they went into a fund at the schools, and it wasn't like a slush fund or anything of that nature, but if they didn't use it, they got to use it for other things. So if we stop doing that, does that take away from the schools and those funds that they had available to them?
I know since I've been tech director, we've used the utilization of those funds have just been to pay for repairs. So before that, and we've even had to, there was even some shortfalls that we needed to address due to some of the repair bills that we had with the iPads. So that, I don't know.
So when we wrote out the check, it was actually going to the district the past couple of years?
Yeah, to pay for...
It used to be, I think, a school-based account.
It was school-based.
But it all got used. There wasn't a slush fund.
Okay. So if one school didn't use it, it went towards another school's? Or the overall?
They've all used it.
They've all used it. Oh, okay.
And that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving into NSBA conference report. Marnie and Sarah.
Well, thank you. And seeing it's 25 minutes of 9, we'll try to talk fast because there's a lot of information in front of you, and we're not going to talk about each and every piece, but first and foremost, we thought the conference was fantastic. We both left there rejuvenated and a lot of energy, and when we talked to Javier, it was during the budget process, and we'd call him and say, oh, we learned this new thing today, and he's like, okay, let me go with the budget. And we said, we won't make you do it now, but, and we were getting very excited about all the different conversations we had with different boards across the country, and it's a great opportunity, and I hope that we continue to build upon that and more people go to the conference. Two really seemed, it's very generous, but I think there's an opportunity for more of us to go because there is a lot for us to gain from it. So we have, I didn't make copies of everything, but what I did was highlight for you the different conferences, and starting with mine, of what we attended, Leading Outside the Box, and there's a binder available, and some of that came away with such things as, this is the Nebraska Association of School Boards, and some of this, again, we can have conversations about it later, but some pretty cool stuff that they have at all of the board member seats about motions and debatable, whether it's amendable, and then also what their mission and vision is to keep the focus, the board, keep their focus on what they're there for. And so this was a great item in a book. I'm not going to go over that. Understanding the key work of school boards. Actually, excuse me, let me back up. Leading Outside of the Box, the biggest thing that we talked about in that particular session was how high-achieving school districts tie directly to whether or not a school board is functioning well. And what they said was board members in high-achieving districts often referred to student needs through data about students as the focus for decision-making, whereas board members in low-achieving districts referred to data used in decision based on anecdotal and personal experiences. And so there is an actual study called the Iowa Lighthouse Study that they went over there. And so there is, when we think about the difference that we make, it is a lot of research tied to student achievement. Another thing they talked about was having at all times front and center for not only the community, but for the board is our mission and vision, and some of the recommendations that they had, and I put those at the bottom, some suggestions of, such as the mission and vision being read at every board meeting, at the top of every agenda, and having it front and center on the Portland Public School website. And then also the comprehensive plan, they talked a lot about strategic planning, and this particular district that was cited, they had it front and center and called out. So for ours would be equity, achievement, whole student, and people. And having quick links right to the comprehensive plan, goals and metrics, and then doing continual check-ins. So that was one thing. Understanding the key work of school boards. Again, they talked about how school boards, the functioning, and how we would be tied to improving student achievement, and that the research, again, shows the more effective the board, the better a school district students perform. And talked about the 5 key work action areas for school board, being vision, accountability, policy, community leadership, and board superintendent relationships, and how important that relationship is with the superintendent, both not only collaborative, but also mutual trust. And so there was some great information there as well. And one of the things that they suggested in when Ms. Crocker was superintendent and I was board chair, we purchased an NSBA publication, Becoming a Better Board Member, a guide to effective school board service, and we just barely scratched the surface. We went over it at one of our retreats, and we haven't worked on it since. And so they brought that up a lot, and now that we have that, we spent the money, hopefully we can start working that in somehow into retreats, et cetera, and more information for us. Another one that I attended was the marketing and branding, and this one actually I was really, really excited about. Anne Arundel County always seems to lead the path of innovation, and again, you have to customize it to your district, but they had the monthly showcase, and it highlighted transportation, curriculum and instruction, the people that actually work in those departments, and showcasing it to the families coming in, whether they're dropping their kids off at different schools. Here in Anne Arundel, they must have some central place where everybody comes, but they said it was more like their central office, and I'm not sure how it fed through there, but they did that one morning a month in the lobby, greeting people and informing them about the different departments and what they did. They also had, which I thought was kind of cool, is we have the Read Across America Days, and they had made up posters of the people that did the reading in the schools, and had a picture of them reading the book and so on and so forth. Again, just to show the collaboration with the community. The behind the scenes, they had interviewing those who are behind the scenes, like whether it be I don't know, financial analyst or somebody that doesn't typically get recognition out in the front. And they had Meet the Faces, and this one touched upon current students, alumni, past and present employees, and members of our community. And the past and the alumni, it was kind of cool in that they had like somebody that graduated, say hypothetically myself, from Portland High School, and where they are today and what they brought back to the community, and getting alumni reinvigorated and involved in the school. They had challenges through Facebook, writing in about your particular school or teachers, and they rewarded the schools that had the most, and wanted to have people talk about what made them special, unique, or different in the qualities of their schools. And then last but not least, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Morioni, and I know this is one of those touchy-feely things that some of you love and some of you hate, but I attended a session called Mindfulness, and I know that we have yoga in some of our schools for Rise and Shine, and some other people do it on a regular basis, and it really talked about the connection they said, how can we expect students to come and sit still when they're dealing with stuff from home? And this was a great opportunity for them to come in and decompress and be ready to go. But not only the students and the teachers, but also they recommended school boards And it sounds really hokey, but it was actually kind of cool in that, and I told Ms. Crocker about it, we complete strangers, and I was thinking, oh goodness. What they recommended is that when you go to a school board meeting, is take 10 or 15 minutes beforehand, and it was very interesting, and it sounds, I'm going to say it sounds weird, but when it actually happened, it was really cool. And that one person would face one way and the other person would face the other way, and the person standing here would talk for a few minutes, or however long it was, and this person would just listen. You wouldn't try to say, oh, well, what about this, what about that? You just listen, and then you switch roles. And it was more of a brain dump, in a way, that you're ready to go. You've got whatever was on your mind, and you're ready to sit down and go into your board meeting, and you both listened to each other, and it also helped with partnering with one another. So there was a lot of different processes there that I thought was really interesting. And I'm going to turn over to Ms. Morioni, and then we're going to just talk real briefly about a couple of the exhibits that stood out to us.
Thank you. First, I just want to say, if you've never been to Denver, Denver's a really cool city. I mean, I had the pleasure of traveling with Ms. Thompson, which was really fun. And the event, we were there from Friday to Monday, and each of those conference days were really jam-packed of good information, but also, I think, really also fun, because I was just going to mention the keynote speakers each day from Saturday to Monday. We had Captain Scott Kelly, who was the former astronaut and retired U.S. Navy captain. It was remarkable to hear his story and how he started off. He hated school, didn't do well in school, thought he might even drop out of school, and now he spent an entire year in space and is a NASA astronaut, and it was remarkable to hear his story and get his inspiration. And then the Sunday, we had Ariana Huffington, and so from those who know, she's the founder of Huffington Post, and she also started, she's now CEO of Thrive Global, which was great to hear about her, hear her remarks. The final day, we heard from Wes Moore, who was a New York Times bestselling author and youth advocate, and about his struggles as when he was young and where he is today in terms of dealing with equity and issues. But he's been the host he's been on the Oprah Winfrey Show. He's done a lot of things nationally too for education. So that was pretty cool to have those keynote speakers intermixed with all of our conference work. But my pages, it's a little, we had to do this in two things, but Sarah's is on those first two pages, and then mine came in your packet today. But my session on Friday was mostly around equity and how equity needed to start from boardroom to classroom, and how we, as a board, need to set the standard high around what we understand as being equitable, and talked a lot about ensuring that our budget matches where resources are needed with regards to equity. And I think, finally, after all these years on the board, we are working on that with our comprehensive plan. So I want to thank our board, but the staff and our superintendent that has brought that to light, and I look forward to continue to working on that. But it basically said we must have high expectations for all of our students and hold all of our students accountable and provide support that they need to reach expectations set. I love that session. It was really great. We had a lot of participants from around the country that are having very similar issues that we're having in our schools with regards to feeling like we're addressing equity issues, but you're really not. We're just doing a lot of talking, and we're doing a lot of approving policies around it, but we're not actually addressing the underlying issues, and that oftentimes comes with more professional development around race and equity with our students and staff, and I think it could also help as a board member to have more professional development for ourselves. The next session I went to was a pre-conference workshop on a school board's guide to the maker movement, and that was really neat because because it was set up like a classroom where each table had different things for us to make and had instructions for us to follow and talk amongst ourselves to try and figure it out. But the takeaway from that I wrote here was to provide, gave us with really good information on STEM product companies that can be of assistance. Talked about ideas for classrooms and curriculum. And there's something called a Maker Fair. That's an event that happens once a year that has over 150,000 educators and attendees. So it sounded remarkable. So I'd love to make sure that our teachers that are involved or interested in the Maker movement, it was basically saying that every classroom should be a maker space in some capacity, whatever the whether you're teaching English or math. It shouldn't be separate silos of information. You can bring all of that into technology and the makers movement. I listed here inventtalearn.com, which includes a lot of great ideas that they talked about. On Saturday, I attended 4 sessions, but I only wrote here about I wrote about 3 of them. Anyhow, one of the biggest takeaways that we would like to connect with, Sarah also stopped in on that session as well, was around From Awful to Award-Winning, One Board's Path to Excellence. And it's in Berlin, Connecticut. But it was initially described themselves as dysfunctional board, ineffective. They had personal attacks amongst each other. The board was held in low regard by the staff, superintendent, and parents. Bottom line is they were at sort of the ground zero of being able to work together. And then they went through the steps of how they basically worked to improve collaboration amongst themselves. And the takeaways there, they created a board member handbook, which included guidelines, procedures, expectations, values, and best practices. That work helped them reinforce not what they were doing, but why they were doing it and why they needed to work more collaboratively together, which was, I just thought, excellent to have that board up there talking about the process they had gone through over. It wasn't a quick fix, and it wasn't just a year. It had been several years of work. They also took their board meetings and they decided to have every meeting a focus on, let's say, for example, if we took our comprehensive plan with the 4 areas, we would take just one of those areas, and let's say today our area was going to be on academic achievement. That would be the focus of this meeting, so the community, teachers, students could know, okay, this meeting of the board is going to be that focus, so that you're able to hone in on exactly, again, why you were doing what you're doing and why the board was talking about something. It made it a lot easier to send out a message to the community about what we do, why we're doing it, and the result of that and our purpose for that meeting. So I put in some other good takeaways from that. So thoughts of next steps. Sarah and I put in a little bit of what we would love to see our board possibly consider working on. And for me, that takeaway was really that handbook idea, because even if we left the board today, at least that handbook would still be there for the next board member to take and read and digest and to refer to it, and also a way for us to continue to, they talked about how it's not a stagnant document, it can continue to be revised, but I thought it was a great, and also the public could see what the heck we do and why we do it. That was really helpful. The other session, making family engagement part of the plan instead of partially planned. This kind of rang true in my mind because they were talking about it's really easy to have a committee called family engagement or but if we're not building it into an annual plan and dividing it also into specific topics that families might be interested in or community members might want to learn about, it's very easy to people, why would they bother to attend? What's in it for them? Why? So they talked about how they went from just having it on the calendar every now and then to really building in an annual plan and setting specific dates that they could market and get the word out sooner rather than later. On Sunday, this was awesome. There was a It's called Our Students Promise, Building a Successful Advocacy Campaign. And I thought about this with regards, this was during the time of our Buildings for Our Future work and leading up to our vote in November for our schools. But I wanted to hear, this was from Oregon. This didn't have anything to do with what I thought it was going to be about. I thought it was going to be about building an advocacy around a specific topic, like for us for the schools. It wasn't like that. This was actually the whole Oregon School Board Association realized that public education was being this day and age was continuing to have to defend itself and to show how it actually is benefiting our students and the future of our country. And so they took it upon themselves to do something called the Promise of Oregon campaign. And so I was able to sit down with our Maine School Board Association president a little bit afterwards to talk about this session, because they were able to do a whole marketing campaign around why public education in Oregon is essential, and focusing on why these students they are the greatest asset of their state, and built a whole digital toolkit. It's all online. They have tons and tons of information that they want us and other states to use to do a similar type of advocacy work around public education. So I would love for our board to consider meeting again with the MSMA leadership and seeing if we, and Portland being the largest district in Maine, to discuss and even link up with Oregon to see how we could use them as an example in this work. Okay, I know I'm taking a long time, but this was really exciting information. So another one was Dreams Can Come True, How Global Education Can Transform Communities. Well, this was fascinating because this is in North Carolina districts. There were 5 districts there represented, how they took these district leaders decided to these were districts that were poor performing, had extremely high free and reduced lunch rate, had a lot of issues that they couldn't quite address. They decided to take their schools and start slowly, but start building in Spanish immersion, which now in some of the districts, in Burlington, North Carolina, for example, they have 20 elementary schools, and all of the elementary schools have some component of language immersion, but not just a little bit, not just a taste of it like we kind of have at Lysa, I apologize, but I mean, it's just beginning there. But they had the entire elementary school that does 50-50. They would have a day of Spanish and the next day in English. Day of Spanish next, so it really is full immersion. Well, it was so popular that they had the families that had been leaving their district moving back into Burlington. They're on waiting lists for students outside of their district to come in. They have seen the turnaround, or I don't have all the statistics here that they presented, but around their English, math, and science scores, test scores had just increased by as much as 30% in 6 years in these language immersion schools. They were not only learning a second language or third or fourth or fifth language, they were improving their test scores in the other areas as well. So I just thought that was great. And now this was presented recently at the North Carolina State Board of Education about all their successes, and they've increased many of these districts. Not only just have Spanish immersion, but they also have Mandarin immersion schools, they have German immersion schools, and Arabic. This is North Carolina. I mean, I grew up there. I know that's challenging, where people are celebrating diversity and celebrating other cultures. It was really great to hear that. So thoughts for next steps: let's go visit North Carolina. Let's go to these schools. Let's see it in action for real. Let's find a way to grow our Spanish immersion, not just a little bit trickling, year by year, but let's see if our other schools might need, maybe we should do another language immersion of some sort, and any of the other elementary schools. But they have some good, how they were able to achieve these things with existing staff, but also those staff that were retiring, they were bringing in those fluent in that language to help be teacher leaders in their schools. All right, so final day, Monday, empowering excellence and success through student leadership. This was exciting because, yes, we have our students, amazing students that come to our board meetings each week, but they, unfortunately, I don't think we use them to their best abilities. What I mean is this, I know the heads are popping up over there. What I mean is I don't think we involve them as much as this Pendergrass School District in New Jersey. This is an 8th grade student representative council, not high school, but 8th grade, and they were working more collaboratively in conjunction with the superintendent on a weekly basis. They were taking more of an active role in fundraising events for their schools and volunteer opportunities. So this is all of these 6 students were up on the panel. They led the entire workshop, 8th graders, and it blew me away how articulate they were, how excited they were to be representing their schools and their district, how their superintendent relied on them to be the voice of the district on many occasions. And then the board worked collaboratively with these student representatives, took them on a college tours to some of the Ivy League colleges, just to show them many of the 6 panelists, or 6 students, were from low-income families, or is a very, very diverse student council representatives. So, thoughts from this were, we cannot lose touch with our students. These are, I think, our most positive messengers for our district, are sitting right amongst us, and I don't think we rely on them as much as we could be doing, as well as helping to lead community events to help engaging more students for us, and that helping around visiting colleges, the leadership training for youth. I don't know if they would agree with that, but like I said, I was very much blown away by these 8th graders. I think the more we can empower our student reps, the better. So I purchased 2 books that are for the board, and they're listed here. So if anybody wants to take them and borrow them, and we'll put them back in the shelves of our central office for people to borrow and use. So that's about it. Bottom line is, the next one is happening in San Antonio, Texas, and here's the save the date card, in April of 2018, and over 6,000 attendees go to these from around the country, and they're doing the hard work that we try and do day in, day out. So, no, I'm going to turn it back to you because I'm losing my voice. Yeah. But thank you for listening, and I wish we were able to go again like we had done for Boston. It's really, I think, and these boards the entire board goes to these, and so I know if they can do it, we can figure out a way to do it in the future. Okay.
Thanks. In the last 2 minutes, for some of the exhibits, and when there was obviously many exhibits, but some that really stood out for Marnie and I. One was the McGraw-Hill Alex, and I'm going to come back around to that one in a minute. The FDIC, Financial Education Resources, that was the FDIC, that the banks that support banks and make sure the federally, I don't know what the actual stands for, federal something or other. Anyway. Federal Deposit. Okay, there you go. And they have curriculums in that we've talked a lot about teaching students about financial planning, about checkbooks, debit cards, credit cards, loans, and so on and so forth. And they actually have free curriculums that they offer to school districts, whether you want to do something in school or after school. They have it on the student level, but also on the adult level. And it was interesting, I just saw something on TV last night about asking students, actually these were college students, about, they didn't even know what a 401k was. And so we're raising a generation of a lot of students not knowing a lot of financial terminology. I've got a couple at home. Then the Government Finance Officers Association, Marnie and I met with them at length, and there is some great books, et cetera, that we grabbed from them. And they had actually, we mentioned this to Javier, but they had actually been meeting with Ellen Sanborn and Manny, and unbeknownst to us, of partnering with them, and they are a nonprofit. And so they had a lot of ideas with regards to budgeting, and one of the books that he provided to us was Best Practices in School Budgeting, as well as some other articles with regards to building a long-term funding policy for infrastructure maintenance. I think we've talked about that ad nauseum for many, many years. And then also what we call multi-year budgeting, we may call long-term financial planning for the long haul. The Digital Futures Initiative, again, a nonprofit, that we were just blown away. We met with a gentleman that started this Digital Futures Initiative, again, free curriculum. They partner with the local police department, and we have some here, the SROs, but they go in and do parent academies and talk to parents about various apps out there, and I gave you some of the handouts, and I was kind of blown away as a parent of some of the things, that the capabilities and things that I had no idea were out there. So it's kind of scary, but at the same time, very informative. Going back to just real quickly, the McGraw-Hill Alex, it was interesting that Marnie was talking to a gentleman on one side of the booth, and I was talking to someone else on the other side of the booth, not knowing we were each talking about the same thing. And both of us being parents of high schoolers, and I don't know if some of you have heard of this before, but Alex is a program in which the students are assigned so many chapters online, and they have to do X amount, and then they have a test, and if they master that test, they get to go on, and so on and so forth. And it became very apparent that the way we use it as a district is very different depending on the school that you're in. And I think if we asked our student reps, they would tell you how much they dislike Alex. I know that from my own personal situation at home, it was more punitive than actual helpful. And we talked to Javier about this, and maybe at some point we can have a discussion, because it was very interesting having one at Deering and one at Casco Bay, and the students, I know, having the conversation at Casco Bay High School is, I think everybody's using it differently, and the kids really saw it as a ball and chain. And they weren't looking at it as something that they could learn more from. It was just something they had to get done. And to be very honest with you, at some of the schools, kids are even paying each other to do them. And so, yeah. I would like to have us have a conversation about that and how we utilize it at our schools, how much we're paying McGraw-Hill. It is a very expensive program from what they were talking to us about. And if we're going to keep it and use it to get the kids engaged, the students engaged in it in a positive way, but also utilize it across the district in a formal way, in that the students don't see it as punitive. I think we all want it to be something that helps them grow and gain more knowledge, but I think we have a little ways to go. So, on leaving it on a positive note, again, we thank you very much for allowing us to go, and look forward to some of you or whomever to go to San Antonio, and hopefully more of us will get to go then, and it's really, I think, continuing on with professional development for the board is really important. Thank you.
Just if I can comment quickly on the Alex issue. The Alex for the district, for the high school, is part of the material adoption of McGraw-Hill textbooks, and so we're not paying anything extra for that, so it's provided McGraw-Hill textbooks, and McGraw-Hill has Alex, and so that's how it's supported in the district, so we're not paying extra for it. But your points are really good in terms of, how it's being used and all of that, and that's something that we will definitely look into.
Thank you. Any questions or feedback for Marnie and Sarah? No? Thank you guys for going and representing the board. This was an important convention, and this is a lot of good information. Yeah. Okay.
If anybody wants any more information of all the stuff we talked about, we both brought home plenty of stuff, and, yeah. And then the books that I mentioned, too.
All right, where it is before the hour of 10 o'clock, we can take public comment on any items not on this evening's agenda. Seeing none, I'll close public comment and call for a motion for adjournment. Ms. Hatzenbuehler, seconded by Ms. Seeliger. All those in favor? It's Sarah? Unanimous with the students voting in the affirmative.